Hey there, PCC, Mary Cristelli with Wellness and Rec for a special Eating Healthy with Mary video. Today we're actually going to cook a recipe I'm going to make. It's a personal favorite of mine. It's a white bean, winter squash, and veggie soup. So the ingredients that we're going to use, there are not that many. These are all things that I keep on hand, and so when I have those moments that I'm like, oh, I don't want to eat what I already planned to have, or I just want something that sounds really comforting, this is a quick go-to that I like to make. So we'll first start off by going over the ingredients that we're going to use, and then we'll get cooking. All right, so for the ingredients, what I've got are a bag of frozen veggies. This is the broccoli and cauliflower mixture, but you choose whatever frozen veggie mix that you like. I've got 2 carrots, which we will peel and dice. I've also got 2 stalks of celery. Again, we will dice those. We're going to use some garlic, so I'm probably going to use like 5 or 6 cloves of garlic. I really like garlic. You use as many cloves or none if you do not like garlic. I have a super small onion here. Again, you can use whatever size you'd like. Just for the portion size that I'm making, I don't need much bigger than this little cute tiny onion. Half a lemon, and then I've got 1 15.5 ounce can of cannellini beans. I love cannellini, so that's why I've got these. I have a butternut squash here, so we will cut this, peel it, take the seeds out. Some veggie broth. You can use chicken broth if you'd like. I've also got some salt, pepper, and oil. I did already wash everything. I do recommend washing your produce before you eat it. That's just a food safety thing. So I've already washed these, and now we'll go ahead and chop. All right, so with the garlic, if you've never used fresh garlic before, you'll have to take these little cloves off the bulb, and then you'll want to peel the skin off there. So there are 2 different ways you can do this. You can use the palm of your hand and just press down to kind of break that skin to peel it off. Or sometimes that actually bothers the heel of my hand. It might be kind of hard. So I'll take this knife, press it down, and then smash it that way. Now don't be afraid to really smash that garlic. We're gonna cut it up anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it's all smashed to tiny little bits. So now we're actually gonna go ahead and cut and peel and seed this butternut squash. Now, this is a lot more than what I'll need for this particular recipe, so I'm gonna cut this in half, and with this particular squash, I'm gonna peel it and dice all of it into bite-sized pieces, and I'm gonna take half of it and put it into a freezer bag and pop that back in the freezer. But you could also cut it in half, put a little bit of oil on it, set the oven to about 400 degrees, put it on a sheet pan with a tiny bit of water, face down, and roast it in the oven, and then use the, like, scrape the inside out and use the mashed butternut squash. But what I'm gonna All right, so one last thing that we've got to do to get all of our prep for this done is we need to drain and rinse our beans. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this can. I've got a colander here that I will pour them into in the sink. I'm gonna rinse them off and then we'll get to cooking, which is my favorite part. Over here on the stove top, I've got a giant sauce pot or a stock pot. And so I'm gonna go ahead and turn the stove top on to heat this up because I am actually going to saute my veggies first, my onion, celery, carrots, and garlic first. This step you can totally skip if you'd like to. If you're gonna use a crock pot, you can just dump everything in there, add the broth in, put a little salt and pepper, set it to low if you're gonna cook it all day, or high if you're gonna cook it for about 4 to 6 hours, and you can be done. I'm adding a little extra step in here because I am gonna cook it here on the stovetop. So I'm gonna heat this up and then I'll add a little bit of oil and get my carrots, celery, and onion sauteing for a few minutes. The reason I separated my garlic out from it was because garlic cooks a little faster and I don't want that to burn. So I'm gonna let these veggies, these carrots, celery, and onion get a little tender first, and then I will add the garlic in so I don't burn that. Alright, so now the onion is starting to take on this like nice color. Things are looking kind of tender. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my garlic in, and then I'll cook it for a couple more minutes. Let that garlic get nice and fragrant. I love the way that cooked garlic smells. I love garlic in general, so I put lots of garlic in my food. But I know some folks don't like garlic, so if you don't like it, you don't want to use very much, you definitely don't have to use as much as I did. So, oh, it's already starting to smell super good. I'm so stoked about this. Okay, now we're ready to add our butternut squash, our frozen veggies, the broth, and the salt and pepper, and then we'll let it cook. So with the broth, I'm gonna want to make sure that I cover everything. Sorry, that's making a loud noise as I pour it in, but I want to make sure that I use enough broth to cover all of the veggies that I've got in here. So I have one box that I just used up, and I think I'm gonna have to open another one. And what I'm gonna do is bring this to a boil, like a light boil, not rolling or anything like that, and then put the lid on it and let it simmer. All right, so we've got some little tiny bubbles starting to form. At this point, now that we've got those bubbles forming, I'm gonna give it another little stir. Whoop, I made a mess. I have to clean that up. I'm gonna bring this heat down to like medium low, put a lid on it, and I'm gonna let this simmer for about 30 minutes. I know I said for about 30 minutes, but I ended up letting it go a little bit longer just so that butternut squash was nice and tender. Cook these veggies to your preferred level of tenderness. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take the lid off, drop that heat a little bit more, put this to the side. I'm gonna add my beans into here, into this pot. Mix that up a little bit. And last, I'm gonna add my lemon juice. So I have a juicer here. If you don't have a juicer, that's not an issue. You can just squeeze it into a bowl using your hands. I do recommend that if you're not gonna use a juicer that you squeeze it into a bowl, because sometimes there are like seeds in here, and it's much easier to pick those out in a bowl than it is in a hot pot of soup. Plus you don't wanna be putting your hands in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze this entire half lemon into here. I really like the lemony flavor, so that's why I use the half lemon for a size pot of soup this size. If you're not sure about it, you can leave the lemon out. So I've got my beans in here, the lemon juice, all the other ingredients. I'm going to actually turn the heat off now, put the lid back on it, let those flavors kind of marinate together, and then I'll go ahead and eat it. I really, really hope you enjoy this. If not as much as I do, then close to as much as I do. I will be doing another recipe next month. We're actually going to be doing one recipe each month. So I'll be back with another one next month. I hope you have a really great day. Enjoy your soup. Take very good care of yourself.